Welcome back, everybody, to the Chroncast. I am Alex Rickman, editor and head writer over at Canucks Chronicles and club reporter at Altitude FC. Joining me, as always, is Kaja Antic from Game Over Vancouver and the Peak SFU. Kaja, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yep. Anyway, it's been a day. We'll just move on. So the NHL playoffs have finally kicked off without the Vancouver Canucks. First couple games have gone through. We haven't seen too much action yet, but Kaja, let's get into this. So let's start with who are you cheering for this postseason with the Canucks out?
Okay, I'm just gonna say first off, I didn't realize the playoffs started on Saturday. I was like, they fully started on.
Oh. Okay, if you can hear me
I
right
thought they
now,
were
you
supposed
are
to start
frozen on
yesterday,
my end. I can't see or
and they
hear anything
didn't.
going on.
And I was really confused. I was like, I didn't understand that they had not yet started. And I just get a notification on my phone that's saying, "Oh yeah, Kyle Connor scores in the late in the third to take game one for the Jets." I'm like, "What?" Like I thought it started on Sunday the entire time. Um I was wrong. Yeah, the only game I've really watched the most part of was the Leafs Sens game yesterday, which was quite something. Um but yeah, for cheering wise, I have my bracket, and I mean, like, I'm going for the Jets all the way, I'm not gonna lie, but that's just because Luke Shen's on there now. And yeah, he's my favorite. I'm going for Dallas because I think, like, they lost game one, but they always lose game one. I think they still have a chance, but they're gonna lose to the Jets. I have Vegas getting through against Minnesota. Not what I want, but what's gonna happen. And then I have the Oilers sweeping the Kings because they beat them in seven, they beat them in six, they beat them in five. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I have Ottawa beating Toronto in 7 games. Just, the narrative. Tampa beating Florida in six because Tampa's just a much better team all around. In my opinion. Washington over Montreal in five. It's like the power of friendship can only get you so far. Maybe they pull it off and they get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals like the Rangers did a few years ago. Who knows? And then I have Carolina over New Jersey in six.
Yeah. So there were some technical difficulties on my end, so I missed part of what you said, but we're just going to go on because this is just a Chroncast tradition at this point. So you said you were cheering for Winnipeg, quickly. Just so we're on the same page.
Winnipeg, yes.
Okay. So, as we can see, I'm very subtly wearing a Winnipeg Jets jersey, so of course, in the postseason, I am cheering for the Montreal Canadiens. For me, it's a case of growing up, I went to a ton of Vancouver Giants games, and my favorite player with the Giants throughout my childhood was always Brendan Gallagher, who, of course, now is plying his trade in Montreal. So really, I just want to see Gally get some success here. Overall, when the Canucks aren't in the playoffs, I tend to just hop from bandwagon to bandwagon as I curse different teams and get them eliminated. But yeah, this year it'll be Montreal for me. Going into predictions, so for the first round over in the West, I also took Winnipeg over St. Louis. I had them getting over their playoff curse in round one. I took Colorado to beat Dallas, especially with Dallas not necessarily having Heiskanen and Robertson throughout the postseason or throughout the first round. We don't know when they'll necessarily be back. I'm going to go for Colorado. I would like to see Dallas win, but I think Colorado's going to get through. With Minnesota and Vegas, this is where my hating came in, and I decided to take an upset. I have the Minnesota Wild beating the Vegas Golden Knights. Especially getting guys like Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back at this crucial moment, I think gives them a chance. Obviously, they didn't take game one, but I think game 2 through 7, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I think they'll win 4 of those. Edmonton and LA. Words cannot describe how much I wanted to take the LA Kings in this series. The Edmonton hating and my love of Andrei Kuzmenko really made me want to take LA. But it's the Kings and the Oilers in the playoffs. I've seen this movie before. The Oilers are going to take that one, I think. Switching to the East, I did also choose to follow tradition with the Maple Leafs and have the Senators winning it in 7 games. Florida and Tampa, we differed. I went for Florida because I just have this feeling that part of it just comes down to the way they play, just suits playoff hockey really well, and I think they can bounce back from some of their... Like, they didn't look bad at any point in the regular season, but they didn't quite look like themselves. I think in the postseason, that'll come back.
They lost a lot of key players, I think, too.
Yeah. I also think, I don't know, just coming off a Stanley Cup when the Tampa have some pretty recent experience, too. They know how to get it done in these big moments, so it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say something. I was like, I think that there's going to be a Kachuk, Marchand, JT Miller-Pettersson moment, so that's why I don't think that they're going to get through. But that's just me.
God, if Kachuk is back and they're lining up with, like, Marchand, Bennett, and Kachuk on the same line, that's going to be the most annoying line in NHL history.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just 3 complete pains in the ass.
Yeah.
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 Just moving past that, Washington and Montreal. Again, I've said I'm cheering for Montreal. I really want to buy in. It's the Washington Capitals. This is one of the best teams in the NHL versus a team making the playoffs for the first time. Give me the Caps. And with New Jersey and Carolina, this series... Oh, this is going to be some really thrilling hockey. I took New Jersey, and I had the over-under on amount of games I watch is set at 0.5.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just going to be... I have a feeling watching games in this series is going to be a little bit like watching the 2024-25 Canucks play. Just like, there will be 0 events per game. Nothing fun is going to happen whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Jacob Markstrom slashed his own player, so...
That's true.
That was entertaining.
Yeah. The things happening around the hockey can be entertaining. It's just like the hockey part of the hockey is going to be a little lacking.
The hockey part of the hockey.
And then, as we go from here, who do you have making it to the Stanley Cup final, and who do you think is going to win it ultimately?
Okay, so I have Winnipeg, Carolina.
Okay.
Winnipeg, Carolina, and I initially put it on Carolina, but because I don't want to see an American team win, especially this year, I instead switched it to the Jets. So, please, Connor Hellebuck, keep it together. Homie, please. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, so for myself, I agree with not wanting to see an American team win it this year, just with everything that's going on. Hence, I traditionally would be very much against the idea of cheering for a Canada's team in the postseason, but this year that's changed. However, I did predict the final to be Colorado and Washington.
Okay.
Colorado, I think, just loaded up so well at the deadline that I don't know. There's no team that I look at and say, okay, Colorado absolutely cannot get past this group. Washington have just had an absolutely ridiculous year, and also have Alex Ovechkin, so...
Yeah.
And in the final, I hate this pick to my core, just so we're clear. I did pick the Colorado Avalanche. Which I can take some consolation in that their core players are pretty much all Canadian players, at least. So you have guys who are at least on the Canada Four Nations roster that won it. But at the same time, that's just copium. It's not actually a solution.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, I Montreal, please prove me wrong. Montreal, prove me wrong. Winnipeg, please, like you said, Connor Hellebuck.
Please.
Keep it together.
Please.
For the first postseason in your life.
Oh my god.
Keep the wheels on the bus.
Think it's the preliminary round of the Four Nations face-off and not the final. There you go. You're good.
It feels weird
Anyway.
suddenly cheering for Connor Hellebuck to beat Jordan Binnington.
Oh,
After
yeah.
February, just having that reversal just feels a little,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think that the Winnipeg Jets are overall way better than the St. Louis
totally.
Blues. Like, both goalies, like, this pains me to say, but Jordan Binnington is a pretty decent goalie.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good goalie, you know. I just think overall Winnipeg has more talent throughout their lineup. That's skater talent rather than St. Louis, but
yeah, like ultimately. So I was talking about this with a friend who is going to be cheering for the Jets in the postseason. He was saying before it was locked in who would have each wildcard spot, I believe. He was saying he would much rather play Minnesota than St. Louis because of the hot streak that St. Louis were on. And I disagreed with that because I think, one, Minnesota getting guys like Eriksson and Kaprizov back at the right moment gives them a big boost. But also, the hot regular season run doesn't necessarily translate to playoff success. And I think,
it does not.
I wouldn't want to be up against a goalie like Jordan Binnington in the playoffs because I think, in spite of some of his regular season moments, he can be a really good goalie in clutch moments, hence why Canada called him up and how he played in the Four Nations final. Ultimately, they don't scare me all that much. This feels a little ironic coming from a Canucks fan, I think, seeing that they made the playoffs instead of us. But I would feel the same way about someone coming up against the Vancouver Canucks, where I'd be saying, okay, so are they going to beat us in 4 games or 5? With St. Louis, I think they can at least I think they could take it to 6 or 7, potentially. They can make a game of it.
I was looking for an empty water bottle to throw when you said Jordan Binnington, but it was too far away, so... Playoff Jordan Binnington.
Playoff Binnington.
What a legend.
There is truly no one quite like him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Winnipeg Carolina series, in the final, I also had, because on the NHL bracket, you have a tiebreaker for how many goals are going to be in the final, and I was trying to do math, and so that went really well. I averaged it about 4 goals in a 7 per game in a 7-game series, so I went with 28.
Yep.
Because Carolina doesn't score a lot. Winnipeg, they can score a lot, but they Carolina is also so defensively backed that I don't think they would be able to. So yeah, I kept it average 4 goals per game. Maybe there's a blowout and it ends at 6.
Yeah. I think I forget how I did my final, but I think I averaged it to 5 goals a game, so fairly similar. My go-to is average it out at about 5, and then just throw a couple in for fun. Yeah. Basically out of optimistically trying to take the over.
That's fair. That's fair.
So anything else we want to say about the playoffs? Or should we move on to our next segment?
I don't really have anything other to say about the playoffs other than Travis Green is the head coach of the Ottawa Senators, and I feel like we need to remind everybody that he is in the playoffs and the Canucks aren't. Sorry, I really don't think Travis Green was the problem. It was ultimately Jim Benning, but that was many, many years ago now. I was watching the game with my sister, and she was like, oh yeah, he was barely the coach before Bruce, and I was like, no. He was the coach for a while. She had no clue. Yeah. Anyway, that's just go Sens. Anyway.
And go Habs go. So, switching topics, let's talk about the thing neither of us really want to talk about, but feels very necessary at this point. Brock Besser has likely played his final game as a Vancouver Canuck. I don't even know where to start with this, but just...
Okay.
How have we gotten here?
Okay. So maybe this is just some advice for Patrick and Jim, the boys. Maybe don't go in a public media setting and hate on your longest tenured player just cause, That's a choice. That's a choice to make. That's, something that's not something I would suggest to do if you want to create like an environment where people want to stay with your organization or even sign with your organization. But that's just me. I'm not a GM. I'm not bald. Like, to each their own. But yeah, Brock Besser. Technically, Thatcher Demko has longer tenure because he was drafted before him, but actually being with the team, Brock Besser has been there longer. He's, I think, the only one on the team that played with the Sedins, which, pretty big deal in Vancouver. Yeah, he's likely played his last game as a Vancouver Canuck. They couldn't get a deal done. They're letting him walk. They didn't do a trade, and they're burning bridges seemingly left and right with him. There was a tweet the other day that I'm trying to access because I screenshotted it. This is from Cam Robinson on Twitter. Over his 8 years in the league, Brock Besser has averaged 30 goals and 65 points per 82 games. Drafted and developed in Vancouver, the team and its fan base now face the strong possibility of him walking for nothing this summer. What a shame and what a waste of an asset. That pretty much sums up my thoughts. Like, not only is there, they're not listening to the fans because Brock Besser has a pretty strong fan base here in Vancouver. Like, they obviously, when they brought in Patrick and Jim, they didn't really treat him as part of their core. Just in my opinion, from what I understand. But now they're like, they're barely even treating Patterson like part of their core. So like, what's going on, guys? They have no vision, they have no direction. But yeah, Brock Besser, I've kind of accepted it at this point. Like, Brock Besser's my favorite Canuck. He's my favorite player. And it's going to hurt to see him not wear the Orca. But, like, if it's better for him overall, over staying with this team that obviously does not value him the way he should be valued, support it.
Yeah, so, like, ultimately, we don't know that he's gone 100%, but, like, read the room. It's gonna if he is back somehow, I will be very happy to have him back. I really am hoping that I haven't seen him play his final game here, but I get the feeling that that's not going to be the case. Like you said, just what a shame. This is a complete mess to not only lose the player for free who you could have gotten something good for at the deadline in what is really a lost season, to treat him this way as he leaves the door. A player who clearly loves the city, loves this fan base, loves this organization, is really well liked in the locker room, is beloved by the fan base. To have it end like this is just shameful. And really what bothers me is this is not necessarily the first time we've seen something like this from this front office. Looking at, doesn't necessarily have the same level of tenure. Look at how Bruce Boudreau was treated on the way out in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that alone was, from a front office who I have supported and advocated for quite a bit in the past, that was a damn near fireable offense how Bruce was treated. This is getting pretty close to that kind of territory too.
I mean, you could also say the same, like, not arguably on the same level, but they also had, like, they're, like, openly advocating, oh yeah, Pettersson shouldn't go back to Sweden, he should stay in Vancouver this year. Like, you don't want to have him see his family. When there's obviously, like, not saying anything, but, like, if you're in that kind of environment, I understand how you would kind of burn out from being exposed to that constantly.
Yeah.
And then also, like, you have this whole situation in the middle of the season blow up between these two players, one that you chose over another player who was already part of a pre-existing core. And I'm not saying that Bo Horvat is better than JT Miller as a player. It's just that, like, as a character guy, Bo Horvat's at least a decent person. Like, allegedly. But I feel like I should have to mention that. But yeah, the way they also treated Bo. Like, and then they have to let JT go anyway. Just the way they've treated so many players. And, like, it's just giving flashbacks to the Jim Benning days, because this is exactly what they did with so many other guys. And it's just like, Did you not learn anything? Vancouver was calling for his head and you're just repeating the same cycle. It's insanity.
So there was the day after, in the days following Jim Benning's firing, I remember seeing a tweet basically from somebody who was just trying to effectively dunk on the Jim Benning fans who were upset by this firing, which basically said, we've dealt with 8 years of the front office pissing on our heads and telling us it's raining. It ain't fair. I'm going to have to edit for that. Damn
it. I mean, you know what? We should still be holding up all our umbrellas. It sucks, but, like, you know, there is no but. You should be good at your job. You should treat people with respect. This isn't Vegas. This isn't the same organization. Like, Vegas, they do what they do, but they have success to show for it. Vancouver does what they do, but then do nothing. Do nothing with it. Like, they just create and stir up more drama. Maybe that's why Vancouver's seen as an antisocial city, because of this damn hockey team. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how they keep not getting away. They do keep getting away with this. How do they keep their jobs? Like, it's... Anyway, that's...
You can pull this off when you're Vegas, because this has been how it's working with a winning organization. You need the winning to be able to do anything like that. Mm-hmm. And even then, you shouldn't.
Yeah, like
that. I should be clear here. Winning is not an excuse to treat your people like garbage. But if you're going to start treating them like garbage before you're winning, people aren't going to want to stay. People aren't going to want to come. And we have a Quinn Hughes contract coming up pretty soon here.
Like, bringing in his brothers is not going to fix that. You know what? As an oldest sibling, arguably that's going to make it worse. Yeah, no, that was wild from Jim in the press conference, bringing up, like, you have bigger issues going on.
New Jersey is definitely bringing that one to the league too. We are getting so fined.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Jim Rutherford, just, are we sure we need to rip off like in Scooby-Doo, just double check that it's not Jim Benning under there? Because what the hell is this man saying? What is he talking about?
This is quite literally the Jim Benning tampering allegation with Subban and Stamkos.
Literally.
We have gone backwards.
Do you think the family group chat just started going off when that happened?
Undoubtedly. Yeah. It's still going right now.
Yeah. And then also, like, kind of a sidebar, Tom Wielander staying in Boston at BU for another year, allegedly due to not meeting the same. Apparently they're hung up on performance bonuses in his contract, so they don't want to bring him over yet. And it's just like, really? This is like one of your most important prospects. He can perform. We've seen him perform. He's a young defenseman. The last season, we've beefed up our defense, but, like, there's going to be some turnover in a few years. You're going to want to bring the young blood in, and you're hung up on such a little thing. Like, it's a small fraction of a cap hit. Like, it can be, I think it's like, it can be like up to $850,000, but still, that's like a league man deal.
Yeah.
And
something like a guy choosing to stay in college for another year normally would be pretty non-worrying at this point. Like, I don't think I'd be reading into it. With everything that's been going on recently, it's enough where some people in the fan base, and myself included, are just going to look at this and go, what's happening here? Are we about to get, are we going to get Adam Foxed?
Yeah, like, that could potentially be a thing. That could potentially, it could 100% happen, because, like, it could be like the Adam Fox situation, or like Cutter Gauthier not wanting to play for Torts. It could be like Eric Lindros not seeing eye to eye with Nordique's management. Like, all of these things could happen, and it's not being taken seriously enough, because I don't think they understand the value of the team. Obviously, they don't care about anybody on this team. they're like, oh yeah, we want to get a Quinn Hughes deal done, but it's up to ultimately his decision. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, but also he's your damn captain. He led the team throughout an abysmal season, and you're like treating him like he's just another fourth line winger. Like, I he's the best defenseman in the NHL, and
Yeah.
you're I can't like it's.
And just we'll add this. Even if, let's say, miraculously getting his brothers would suddenly solve all of the problems and suddenly he wants to stay here forever, good luck! New Jersey's not going to want to play ball there.
Yeah.
Because first of all, they seem to probably have a ticket to get the best defenseman in the NHL. Not guaranteed, obviously, but they would have a foot in the door if Quinn does decide he wants out.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, we're talking about their best player and one of their best young players. Like, this is not going and acquiring some third liner or something. This is Jack Hughes.
First overall pick, Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
Fourth overall pick, Luke Hughes.
Like, I'll put it this way. If you acquire Jack Hughes, that is your new number one center right now in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
With most teams in the NHL, this is your number one center. Do you think that's going to be easy to do, ignoring the fact that he bears the Hughes name?
No. And like ultimately it's probably going to cost you even more compared to the players that they're complaining about, that people are complaining about that they're paying already, in like Pettersson. And yeah, it's like there's so much wrong with that conversation. But yeah, Jim Benning, you know what? Maybe he's taking that fine because that money would have gone to Talkit anyway, and that's obviously not happening. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like anything. Their vibes are so off. It's just so wrong. Everything is awful, and I hate it.
I feel like the last roughly 10 minutes of the show need the Meet the Grams beat over them just with what we're saying about this game.
Fair. Bars. I'm sorry, Kendrick Lamar, for my sins. Should we talk about Talkit?
I think we should. Let's get the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. So Rick Talkit, the team will not be using his contract option. I believe it was said that we should know within the next week or so whether or not he's going to be extended, which would make him the highest paid coach in Canucks history, one of the higher paid in the NHL, I believe, at this rate, or whether he's going to walk and go elsewhere. Now, we've been incredibly subtle about our thoughts on this show. I don't know if anyone would be able to pick out what we feel about this. Kaja. Thoughts?
Bye-bye! Walk away! Never be seen here again. Goodbye! I want him gone. You know what? They're not exercising the contract option because he missed that pen against St. Louis. Anyway, it was St. Louis, right? I'm making a Fafa Pico joke. That's the bit.
RSL.
That's St. Louis, right?
Real Salt Lake.
Why are there two SLs? Anyway, that makes it SLC. Not the point. Rick Talkit. You are a Philadelphia Flyer. Honestly, like, the writing's on the wall. He's going back to Philly. You can have him. You know what, Flyers? Have a fun time with that. Whatever the players are saying, don't care. This man has no proven track record as a coach. He had a flash in the pan year that last year, but that was a risk. Every other year, I'm pretty sure he's had a losing record as a head coach in the NHL. He was brought in to fix JT Miller after fixing Phil Kessel, and that didn't work out, obviously. We no longer have JT Miller. So what is he still doing here? Like, and he obviously doesn't get along, like, not to like say anything, but obviously he's valued by the front office more than their own players. Like, honestly, but also he doesn't value a lot of the players that they already have in this team because they're also not valuing Pettersson as part of their core, and he's, the big piece of the franchise. honestly ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. He makes so many horrendous decisions. He doesn't know how to take a goddamn timeout. Like it's good luck, Philly. Good luck. If he gets paid what he wants to get paid, and he's the highest paid head coach in Canucks history, that is potentially a worse move in franchise history than the Messier deal. I said it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some fighting words.
Yep. This shows how much I do not like this decision.
Like, okay, I just want to talk about, like, the players wanting him type thing. So basically, you're obviously referencing Quinn Hughes said in some sort of media availability that he wants Tocchet back as your head coach. I get that we're in Operation Keep Quinn Happy to try to make sure he extends. If Operation Keep Quinn Happy means fundamentally handicapping this team's ability to get anything real done in the next couple years because we have a coach who's holding this organization back, is it actually worth it? Because you know what also will make Quinn Hughes quite happy? Winning. Winning is fun. Winning makes hockey players quite happy. So why not try to win, get something going, and that'll be a great way to keep Quinn. That'll be a great way to keep anyone who wants to stay, and to make people want to come here. Because right now, we've talked a little bit on this show, and just broadly, like, they're having conversations about free agency and who the Canucks need to bring in. Talked about, like, guys like Nick Ehlers as a potential free agent. If I'm Nick Ehlers, I do not want to be a Vancouver Canuck right now. Like, especially with a coach who will take these dynamic offensive presences, completely box in their ability to be creative and play their offensive game because we are completely unwilling to relent anything defensively from our forward core. This is not an appealing place to play.
Yeah. Sorry, just to bounce off of that, like they take these offensive-minded, talented players and then try and fit them into their system, right? And then when they don't fit into their system 100%, it's like, oh, they're doing everything wrong. They're not following their training. They need to do better. They need to, like, it's always their fault, and it's never a self-reflection on themselves. Like, it's never, not to, like, psychoanalyze Rick Tocchet here, but, like, this isn't working, Chief. You need to wrap it up. It's, yeah, if I'm a free agent, like, I'm seeing how shiny that head is, and I'm running, because obviously that's cursed. It's cursed. He has a very shiny head.
It is a very shiny head. But, like, ultimately, when you have... Why did we sign Daniel Sprong? So, in an article that got uploaded the other day on Canucks Chronicles from JC, aka Nux Memes, shout out to the homie, he talked about this because we traded Vasily Podkolzin to a division rival for a 4th-round pick.
A division rival.
To make room for Daniel Sprong.
A division rival that we had just lost to in the playoffs.
We made the Edmonton Oilers better for the cost of a 4th-round pick for a guy who we traded for future considerations after 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
I actually forgot he played that many. I thought it was like 4. Also, he scored our first goal of the season.
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even mind adding Sprong. Like, it seems like there was a move. There was a good idea there. Like, this was a half-decent idea that had just horrible execution on it.
There was a concept of a plan.
Yes, we had concepts of a plan. Sorry, I'm trying to pick something up that I dropped. We had concepts of a plan. This plan completely failed, and we just gave up a young talent who has been pretty good for Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's never going to be the player that we drafted because of us, most likely, and partially because of SK St. Petersburg. What are we doing here? Like, Podkolzin, too, I think would have been such a good system fit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had an actual system fit, and we... The part of this that annoys me the most is not even that we traded him, it's not even that the return was absolutely nothing, it's not even that we got literally nothing for Sprong. Edmonton. You send him to Edmonton.
It was really just like a nothing move, like, ultimately. Like, it really meant nothing other than just kicking out a guy who he's played up and down the lineup in both Vancouver and Abbotsford. It really made no sense. I think it's just he got traded for the crime of not having worn a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey in his career. Simple as.
Yeah. I saw the other day they were selling Podkolzin jerseys at Rogers Arena, just clearing out old stock for, I think, it was like $100 versus like $250 where they originally started, and I really wanted to buy one, but also I'm trying to be less terrible with money.
Fair.
Speaking of Rogers Arena making interesting choices and things to sell at Team Store, how much would you pay for a used hoodie?
Okay, so I will fully admit I have a used hoodie. But it was, I think, at the most $40. It's like, this was a few seasons ago. And it's not one of the Lululemon ones that they're selling now for way too much money. But full disclosure, I have two of them, actually. I have one, I think I actually got them at like the end of year sale. But yeah, I have two. I have one, it's a Canucks one, it's a Phil DiGiuseppe one. And then I have the Canucks Autism Network hoodie that I think was Tucker Pullman's. They're good hoodies, might as well. It's pretty cool to have. But yeah, the Lululemon ones, I'm not a Lulu girly. That's not in my tax bracket. And also their former CEO just really makes me mad. So, yeah, shots thrown at Chip. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I get it. They're used and they're Lululemon. I don't know how much Lululemon hoodies usually go for, but weird choice. Like, you pay that same amount to go to a game, and they want you to spend that same amount on a piece of clothing. The merch that's not worn by players is already expensive enough.
Yeah. Like, if I'm gonna buy a hoodie, I'd rather it be a new hoodie that has not been worn by other humans. Like, even if that human happens to be Phil DiGiuseppe or something, I'd just buy a new hoodie.
I'm just gonna look up hoodies and sweatshirts men's. So... Yeah. So, it's this trending. Okay, it looks like the hoodies from Lululemon are around $128 to $148.
I'm sorry, how much?
$128 to $148 for a hoodie.
Does the hoodie do my taxes for me?
Wait, is there a way to, like, hoodies? They have sort by price low to high. Their cheapest one, that's on sale. Their cheapest regular price one is a soft jersey pullover hoodie for $98. Yeah, their lowest price one, and it's on sale for like half off, is from the Team Canada Olympic collection from, I think, Paris. It's still for $54. And it's actually over half off from $128. Price high to low, the highest is $148. Yeah, and they're selling it for $100, right?
I believe it was, yeah.
You getting $30 off a Lulu sweater, guys. Woo!
Yay.
This is just really expensive thrifting.
Yeah.
Like, it's a choice. It's a choice. You know?
It certainly is. Anything else we want to say about the Canucks, or should we move on to other things around the hockey world?
Yeah, I think I'm done with the Canucks. I need to reconnect with nature now.
Same, dude. Same. Let's talk about the PWHL.
Yep. Sorry, I found a bracket I drew a while ago, and I was looking at it.
Oh, I see.
I was like, what was the playoff situation at that point? Anyway.
So a few days ago, it got announced that there was going to be a press conference on Wednesday, I believe it was, with officials from the city of Vancouver and various other important people to announce some sort of historic announcement, it said, involving the Vancouver sports landscape. Initially, some people thought this might be the Whitecaps' new stadium potentially being announced at the PNE. According to Patrick Johnston from Post Media, though, it does appear as if Vancouver is getting a PWHL expansion franchise for the 2025-26 season. You know how Helmut Marko listens to the Chroncast?
Yep.
So does the PWHL.
Yep.
Somebody at that head office, Brian Burke, I know worked for the PWHL. Brian Burke listens to the Chroncast.
Wait. Give me a second. Mark Walter.
I have no idea. Mark Walter.
Mark Walter. Heck yeah. He listens
Mark
to the
Walter
Chroncast.
And Helmut Marko at their most recent Chroncast listening party.
He also owns 12% of Chelsea.
That's a shame.
He's also the primary owner of Andretti Global, which will operate the Cadillac Formula One team. So,
okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Almost balances out the Chelsea.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean,
yeah.
Vancouver had the highest attendance for the PWHL Takeover Tour this season, where in a game where the Toronto Scepters faced off against the Montreal Victoire, where Marie-Philippe Poulin scored an amazing goal. Amazing goal. Check it out. I literally could not believe I just witnessed that. But yeah, that was a great time. I think they had a higher attendance up to that point. I'm not sure about after that point, but honestly, looking how the Canucks season went after that game, which was on January 8th, looking how the Canucks season went after that, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the highest attendance for a hockey game in Rogers Arena this year. Because the last time the Canucks had beat that number was Game 5 against Edmonton the previous season in the playoffs. So, you know what? Hockey's coming back to Vancouver. Good hockey's coming back to Vancouver. Honestly, it makes more sense. There's rumors that like Pacific Coliseum's getting some upgrades and stuff, and they haven't had hockey for almost a decade now since the Vancouver Giants left. They now play at the Langley Event Center. But yeah, the Vancouver Giants used to play at the Pacific Coliseum. If you want more knowledge about how the Pacific Coliseum came to be, look at my YouTube channel. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see the Pacific Coliseum with hockey once again. Obviously historic for the Vancouver Canucks, and it's just going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah. No, like with how depressing this Canucks season has been, it's going to be nice to get, like you said, some good hockey in Vancouver soon.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, we've also, like, it's so cool seeing professional women's sports, because, I didn't grow up with any of that in Vancouver, or just really on television in general. We had the Olympics and that was pretty much it, or, like, other, like, individual sports, but, like, women's professional team sports wasn't as much of a thing as I can remember from my childhood, so having like a Vancouver Rise and then also now a potential PWHL team in the city is amazing. It's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool to see.
Yeah. And we'll get into talking about the Rise a little bit later too. Just stay tuned for that discussion. But yeah, ultimately, like, this feels like we don't know who the other expansion city is going to be yet, but Vancouver just feels like the big one they were missing at this point to a certain extent. Obviously, with where teams were geographically located, it made sense that we didn't have anything out here yet, but it felt like the right choice for the next city, so it appears that the right choice has been made, and we're getting some good hockey here.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I know, like, there's potential. I know they did a takeover tour. I think they had one in St. Louis. They had one in Denver. Seattle had one. Trying to think of other places. I know Calgary.
Some in Alberta, I believe.
Yeah, Edmonton had one. I'm not sure if Calgary did. They probably did. But Calgary also had the Calgary Inferno in the CWHL. So there's been calls for them to come back. So it's an open arena. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to that getting started. One thing you have in the planner doc, which I forgot to ask about. Playing with injuries is dumb, no matter the circumstances.
Okay. Rasmus Andersson played the final 12 games with a broken fibula. That is dumb. He played for the Calgary Flames, and the Calgary Flames were fighting for a playoff spot. I get it. But, like, you have a broken damn leg, bro. Get off the ice! That can affect you not only in your career, but also in your day-to-day life. And you're just deciding to go through... Like, that's... Objectively, I know it's probably their decision, and the medical staff can't exactly, like, lock them in a room for the entire game. But... it'd be really funny. But, like... don't do that. Don't do that. There's no brain. It's just a super machismo type sport that, like, there's no common sense when it comes to taking care of yourself. Like, and if a player takes time away to take care of, like, whatever their issue is, they're called soft. They're like, they're called, like, so many things, and it's just it's stupid. You have a broken leg. Do not play on your broken leg. Ovechkin did not play on a broken leg. You are Rasmus Andersson with the 24-25 Calgary Flames. You do not need to be playing all of these damn games with a broken damn leg. I hate all the warrior stories too. Of, like, oh yeah, I had a broken, like, what was it that, like, Matthew Tkachuk broke something.
His sternum.
Sternum, yeah. And, like, he had to have his brother help him out of bed during the 2023 finals. Was that not a sign? Was that not a sign that you shouldn't play hockey, a high-contact sport, in the playoffs? Patrice Bergeron playing with a punctured lung. I mean, obviously he recovered, but still. Or, like, players will go through the entire finals with, like, devastating injuries and then never play again. Shea Weber, Carey Price, both in 2021. Gabriel Landeskog has just returned after not playing since the 2022 Stanley Cup Finals. Like, it's just something I have an issue with it. I have an issue with letting players play through that, but also players themselves putting them through that, because, like, you should value your life as a human being more than a stupid little rubber thing going in a net. Sorry. Like, respect yourself.
Speaking of Gabriel Landeskog.
Yeah?
Some news that is breaking to me, at least. Won't be when we upload this. Gabriel Landeskog has been activated from injured reserve by the Colorado Avalanche. Coach Jared Bednar has said not to look into this too much and that it's formality, but we could, in theory, see Gabriel Landeskog play in Game 2.
I mean, that's cool and all, but, like, I hope he paces himself.
The principle of what you said still stands. This is just, by coincidence, I have just seen this now after Gabriel Landeskog got mentioned.
Yes.
I still fully agree with everything you were saying, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I just needed to have that little moment, because I'm like, it makes me so mad all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
and before...
I was just saying, like...
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I thought I was done too, and then I remembered. Bo Horvat, like, he didn't know he broke his foot, like, a few seasons ago. Do you remember that? And then he comes to the postseason, like, press conference, and, like, JT's bugging him about it. Like, stuff like that. Like, medical staff, do your job. The Canucks... Pretty sure we've talked about how the medical staff have been subpar this year, or this past few years. But, like, take yourself out. Like, don't put yourself through that. Respect yourself, honestly. Like, I'm telling grown men to respect themselves. That's... Anyway.
And then just moving into our final hockey conversation before we go into other sports. Dmitry Voronkov had a very interesting moment in... So, Dmitry Voronkov was given a 10-minute misconduct in a game. Dmitry Voronkov also does not speak English. Did not understand the ref telling him to leave. And so, just simply did not leave. My main question is, what?
Like, I don't know where the blame comes in here. Like, is it on the refs? Is it on the coaching staff? Why is there someone dressed as Captain America behind the Blue Jackets bench? I just noticed that. Honestly, I'm glad that they can have a laugh about it, because Adam Fantilli's losing his mind. But, like, you would want the player to understand where they're supposed to go, maybe? And I understand there's a language barrier and everything, but, like, no one could have helped him? No one?
Is there... They have other Russian players.
Yeah.
You think somebody would, like, be able to step up and say, hey, this is what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go to the room for 10 minutes. But, like, no?
Yeah, and he has no idea what's going on. It's like,
He's just
poor kid.
there.
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, I need to look up... Washington? That's not the right game. It was, I'm assuming, the 7-0 game. Yeah. Voronkov got an assist in the second period. Yeah. Voronkov misconduct. They didn't even notice until, like, over 2 minutes later. Because he was given the misconduct at 10:18. At 12:10, an eligible player. So they had 2 minutes to, make sure that he, left the bench and everything. He gets a misconduct in the back half of the third period. It's a 6-0 game. You're obviously not coming back out again, buddy. But they just put him back out there. That's...
I wonder, too, like, even if he doesn't speak English, could you not, like, just kind of broadly gesture and have it happen that way?
Yeah, like, there were options. There were options to, get him out of, okay, they have Kirill Marchenko, who is playing that game for the Blue Jackets. They have Ivan Provorov, who is playing that game for the Blue Jackets. And they have Danil Tarasov, who was the backup goaltender, whose job it is to sit on the bench the entire game, was also playing that game. Well, he was there. There were opportunities, and you just, you gave yourself an extra penalty, and I get it, it's funny and everything, but, I feel bad for the dude.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. No. I don't know.
It's a hard language to learn.
It's a very hard language to learn. And, I get it. It could be confusing if you're getting, a bunch of players are going off at the same time, because there were 4 misconducts, I believe, at once. Yeah, there were 4... That's not the right page. There are 3 misconducts. Sorry. There are 3 misconducts. But he was also the only Blue Jackets player, so you have 4 officials. Maybe do your job, one of you. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because Voronkov and then also Pierre-Luc Dubois and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Is Trevor right?
Yes.
Cool. His brother got the 2nd star that night. Anyway.
Nice.
For Columbus. Yeah.
What a situation. But with that, I think we are ready to move off of hockey. So I'm going to go to something that is not in our planner doc because I forgot to write it down. We'll just quickly start with this. The Saudi Grand Prix happened yesterday.
Oh, yeah, it did.
We forgot to write this down, and we feels like F1 is basically the second job of the Chroncast, so let's get into that.
Well, it happened. I'm gonna be honest, I fell asleep, but like, yeah, it was a race that occurred. There was drama at the beginning, I guess, because former teammates Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly crashed into each other, deemed a racing incident. A bit interesting for Lando Norris having started in P10 because he crashed during qualifying. Max Verstappen pole lap in a tractor. There's just a lot going on. Oscar Piastri ends up winning. He takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Charles Leclerc gets the first Ferrari podium of the year. Max Verstappen P2. Max Verstappen also is just not speaking in FIA regulated interview areas because he doesn't want to get fined. Honestly, respect. Good decision. I can't really think of anything else that really happened.
Yeah, so I partially watched the race. I wasn't like super dialed in. Partly because I was also trying to watch the final of the IHF Women's Worlds, and it was like the morning of Easter Sunday and also Easter Saturday. I enjoyed a few beverages.
Slay. Anyway.
But yeah, so it was a race that happened. It's a good time to be a McLaren fan right now.
I don't want to think. I don't. No. No.
But yeah, not much more to talk about there. Do we want to talk about the final of the IHF Women's Worlds, or should we avoid it given the result?
I feel bad for Jocelyn Larocque. I feel so bad for her. She was just trying to send the puck up the middle and gets turned over to Taylor Heise, who's one of the best American players at the moment. And the Americans end up scoring in overtime. I thought Canada really only controlled the play in the first, and then also like at the beginning of overtime. It was an exciting game nonetheless. We'll see what happens come next year with the Olympics. But yeah, I just feel so bad for her. I think it was her 200th game with Team Canada, and she's the first defense player to ever do so. So I like for the women's team, and it sucks, but there'll be more games, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The PWHL comes back Saturday, so for the end of the season, and then we start the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, not much more to add on that. Just brutal to lose at no T in the end, especially with everything going on right now in the world.
I mean, it was an exciting tournament, though.
Obviously can't. Yeah, no, definitely. And, you can't pin world affairs on hockey players.
Unless you're the Kachuk brothers and you go on a freaking victory tour for a tournament you lost. Sorry. I still think that's so... They went on Fallon. They went on the Kelsey brothers show. And they're like, yeah, you lost, bro. You lost.
And you know damn well they booked that expecting to be taking a full victory lap.
Yep. They committed to the bit. The bit fell flat. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, like 2026 Olympics, let's go get them. Yes.
I was going to say something about F1. The Williams team holding back all the other drivers, like, was it Carlos trying to keep Alex in DRS range, or Alex trying to keep Carlos in DRS range? One of the two happened. Love to see it. Power of friendship team. Let's go. I think it was Alex was ahead. Oh yeah, winner. Score points. Oh, Carlos Sainz taking 8th and Albon 9th. Spaniard helped keep Albon in DRS range to protect the tie driver from Isaac Hadjar. So Hadjar was behind him. Anyway, I thought that was really fun. Yeah. Anyway, McLaren's gonna have a fun time this season because the Lando Norris era is not the Lando Norris era.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Do, 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 do. Wait, no, that's not the song. I was like, what's the Oscar Piastri song? There's an Oscar Piastri song, but
I haven't heard it.
my brain immediately went, a different direction.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Vancouver Rise beginning their season, club history, everything in general. I was unable to watch this game, unfortunately, but you were in attendance. What did you think?
It was really fun to see. It was really cool. Saw the first ever goal in Northern Super League NSL history. It was scored by Quinn on penalty. And yeah, it was a really good game. Really crisp between the Rise, and also Calgary had a lot of good chances as well. It's going to be a very interesting year to see how it plays out. Of course, this was the first and so far, I believe the only game at BC Place for the Rise this season, because their home base is Swangard Stadium, but because of like the magnitude of this being kind of the first professional women's league in Canada, like completely by itself, I feel like it deserves the magnitude of BC Place. Some people need to understand what a supporter section means when it's clearly outlined on their tickets, but that's all I'll say on that one. Yeah, it was a great time. Crow Collective has got it's the supporters group there for the Vancouver Rise. They got some fun chants over there. It was just a great time. It was a great vibe. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how the rest of the season goes for them.
Yeah. Shout out to the Crows, shout out to the Rise. Let's get this going. Let's get a good season in. I think they've got a pretty good shot. Their roster looks really strong. Mm-hmm. Especially having a player like Quinn anchoring the midfield is always going to be an advantage in a league.
Yes.
What a player. But yeah, I'm excited for what's to come here, and hopefully future games I'm actually able to at least watch, if not attend. I want to get out there at some point soon.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen a game at Swangard, then how are you really a soccer fan in Vancouver?
Really, yeah. Let's stick to soccer and let's talk a little bit. We'll stick to the sports stuff before we go off the rails. Let's talk a little soccer here. So last week we talked a little bit about the Whitecaps CONCACAF Champions Cup tie against Miami. This week it's actually happening. So, with only a few days to go before the biggest game in Whitecaps history, and really probably the biggest in Inter Miami history as well.
Not a lot of history.
How are you feeling?
Sorry,
well, 3 years of history.
I was like, let's be real here. I'm feeling excited. We find out tomorrow if He Must Not Be Named is coming. And you know what? As long as we're able to hide Julian Gressel somewhere in BC Place and get him back as a Vancouver Whitecap, then all will go well. You know what? I think that the Barcelona rejects are going to be there for the away goals rule, and then we'll counter with Ryan Gold. And everything will be restored as good in the universe. And yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts other than it's going to be very chaotic, and I am very scared of going downtown, but it is okay. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Speaking of Ryan Gold, we have a Chroncast special report. On Saturday night, whilst at one of the pubs I was attending with some of my friends, I met a certain Ryan Gold watching the Whitecaps game at Dublin Calling. Yes, I'm equally surprised by this. And a friend of ours asked how he was feeling on the way out, and he said he is feeling good.
That's nice.
So, does this actually mean anything? No. However, I just kind of wanted to talk about that.
Bro just decided to bump it with the Southsiders for the night, I guess. Like,
it's weird because the Southsiders were even...
Yeah, like...
It was literally one table of people from Vancouver Albion, shout out the homies, and then a couple of like little stragglers. They didn't even have the audio for the Caps game playing in the bar. They had, for the first half, it was audio from NHL playoff games. Then when one of those games went to the intermission, they started playing music and didn't turn the music off. And we had 2 TVs in the entire bar showing the game. The rest of them had on the Avs Stars game.
That's... Oh my god. Yeah. That's...
Yep.
I mean, at least it wasn't an eventful game, but that's hilarious.
But Ryan's feeling good. Also saw Florian Youngworth, Whitecaps legend.
Yay!
Yeah.
Flo!
So cool seeing him. Loved Flo when he was here. Also, big Yulian Gressel fan, so I agree with your plan to keep him somewhere in BC Place. But yeah, like, we talked about this on the show. I'm feeling good about this game. I don't know what's come over me to where I'm feeling good about how the Whitecaps are playing in big moments now. Let's go do it.
Look, I think it's just in contrast to how bad the Canucks have been this season. We need hope, and the Whitecaps have shown us hope, so we are following them forward.
Yeah, and like the atmosphere in BC Place that day is going to be absolutely insane because, like, focusing on the Whitecaps supporter section, everyone and their dog is going to be there. But yeah, like, everyone's going to be there. Even, like, the amount of people who are just going to be cheering when the ball goes in either net is going to make for a very lively BC Place.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, speaking of fighting random people, Wrestlemania also took place this weekend.
Okay.
Now, I know nothing about WWE. Kaja, on the other hand, knows things about WWE, so I'm just going to sit back and listen.
I know some things about WWE. Anyway, I took notes. I took actual notes, front and back, of what happened in WrestleMania for a recap. So it opened on night 1. It was 2 nights. Also, side note, there was SmackDown and a Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame started at 10 p.m. and did not end until 1 a.m. There was another WWE show the next day at 10 a.m. But yeah, it was because Triple H went up there and would not stop talking. He's like the current head of WWE. So he's like allowed to do that. But also he said, this is the last person I'm going to thank, like 5 times. Yeah, that was a fun, way too long time of my life. Anyway, WrestleMania, night 1. It opens with Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. Honestly, bit slow, bit underwhelming. It was nice to see Jey Uso get the hype, though. He gets his first singles title, I believe. So, congrats to him. Yeet. That's his thing. And then it was the New Day and the War Raiders for the World Tag Team. This was mid. Could have been just like on a weekly show. Entertaining, but like not for WrestleMania. And also they had the War Raiders, who ended up losing their title to the New Day. Yeah, they had them dressed up as Clash of Clans characters because the match was sponsored by Clash of Clans. Yeah, they had a thing where a lot of the spots were sponsored by like specific things. Like, so this one was Clash of Clans. There was one on day 2 that was Dude Wipes, and Pat McAfee said Dude Wipes, I swear, 50 times. It was kind of ridiculous. Then there was another one that was sponsored like by the new Doom game. So Drew McIntyre comes out dressed as a Doom character, but like a Party City level Doom character, and he gets one of the shoulder pads stuck on the top rope, so it had to cut away from it. It was awful. Yeah, it was like, I feel like Clash of Clans is 2025, bro. Yeah, and then Jade Cargill versus Naomi, great storyline, loved the match. I still think Bianca Belair is guilty in this situation. I don't think Naomi attacked Jade. But yeah, I liked it. The storyline will continue. It's really cool to see. It's cool to see. I love both these wrestlers. And then it was Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. Yeah. For the WWE United States title. Hell yeah. New bloodline is going down. Jacob Fatu, it was great performance from both wrestlers. Lots of rough action, as expected, from the Samoan Werewolf. Then it was a singles match between El Grande Americano, which is definitely not Chad Gable, and Rey Fenix in like a singles match for Luchador Pride. It was supposed to be Rey Mysterio instead of Rey Fenix, but Rey Mysterio got injured on SmackDown. Legitimately. It was just like a gimmick match. Wouldn't have been interesting had Rey Mysterio not been injured on SmackDown. Still pretty decent. Rey Fenix like just joined the roster like last week, so what a week for him. Immediately getting an event at WrestleMania. Then Tiffany Stratton retains against Charlotte Flair. It was really good and well paced. Charlotte needed better gear. Tiffany Stratton is amazing. Yeah, I just thought it was a great match overall. And then the main event for night one was Seth Rollins versus CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, basically a Paul Heyman custody match. It was amazing. It was amazing. CM Punk's entrance completely one for one recreating his 2013 entrance, especially with Paul Heyman there. Absolute cinema. So Paul Heyman is like the manager dude that like follows him around. He was originally CM Punk's guy, and then for the last like 4 years he's been Roman Reigns' guy. Then Roman Reigns and CM Punk had somewhat of a feud. Paul Heyman, because he had a favor owed to CM Punk, goes with CM Punk for this match, and then spoiler alert, betrays both of them in the match and goes with Seth. So wild. That match lasted half an hour. It was so great. It was such a great ending for the show. Yeah, it was amazing. No notes. Like it was yeah, Paul was about to give the chair to CM Punk. He gives it to him, low blows him, takes the chair, gives it to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has it now, low blows him, and then he gives the chair to Seth. And that's the match. Absolute cinema. Day 2. We're still going. It starts with probably my favorite match of the entire weekend. Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair for the women's world title. Amazing, no notes, perfect. I love Io Sky. She is so underrated, but she is not to be underestimated. We'll see how the story continues, what happens with Rhea, Bianca continuing her heel run. I love all three of them. Amazing. It was just so good. And then it was Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest in a street fight. Drew McIntyre, like I said, dressed up as a Doom character, also very good. Between these two, it was Dom Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor versus Penta. For the Intercontinental title. Lots of action. Judgment Day stable is gonna get broken up. That's what I believe. It's time for the custody battle return because Dominic Mysterio is definitely returning to more of an Eddie Guerrero style gimmick, and that'll be interesting. For reference, if you don't know that, there was a whole custody battle arc between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero in the early 2000s for Dominic, and now Dominic is his own wrestler. It's great. So Randy Orton was supposed to fight Kevin Owens, noted Bruce Boudreaux's favorite. But Kevin Owens unfortunately has to step away from the ring for quite a while due to injuries. So Randy Orton has had an open challenge, and out comes Joe Hendry, who I love. TNA champion, current TNA champion Joe Hendry comes out. I believe in Joe Hendry. So good. It was just so fun. It only was 3 minutes, but like Randy starts doing Joe's gimmick, of course gives him a bunch of RKOs. It was great. Give me more Joe Hendry. Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. Meh. Give AJ a break. That's pretty much it. He deserves better than to fight. Like Logan knows what he's doing, but like again, it's Logan Paul. Then it was Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch in her return from not being in wrestling for pretty much a year. And then versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Lyra and Becky win the title. I love Becky Lynch. Great to see her come back. And yeah, that tag team is going to be really fun. And I think Lyra is like the first one to hold 2 women's titles simultaneously since 2021. So congrats to her. And then it was the John Cena match to end the show. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE an undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Started slow. John looked robotic, rusty. Cody looked like he was kind of compensating, like carrying. And then Travis Scott shows up out of nowhere. So context, at Elimination Chamber in Toronto, where John Cena got the ticket in order to main event WrestleMania against Cody, Travis Scott and The Rock come out. And The Rock is there. He's trying to get Cody to turn heel, bad guy, for him. And Travis Scott's just there. Turns out John Cena ends up turning heel for the first time in like 23 years. And he turns on Cody, beats the crap out of him. But the thing is, in wrestling, you're not actually like fully beating the crap out of someone unless you're Travis Scott, and then you legitimately punch Cody Rhodes in the face and give him a black eye. Yeah, and it was a bad black eye. That's the thing. He like fully smacked him. And I'm like, oh my god. And then they let him back in. The Rock didn't even show up. Mr. Midlife Crisis. Like, he was not there. It is just Travis Scott coming out to Fiend, which they have not stopped playing in like 4 months. Yeah, Travis Scott, I'm so tired of him. He's like a Make-A-Wish kid. Literally. I was surprised they let him back in. My friend was just like, I'm surprised they let him back in after what he did to Cody. I'm like, I'm surprised they let him back in because he had a festival that a bunch of people died at. Like, do we not remember that as a society? Did we forget? Yeah, Travis Scott basically interferes. He also got taken down by Cody Rhodes, which was really funny. But also, like, when Cody pushed him out of the ring, he was definitely carried down. And I'm like, are you a baby? He's the new John Cena Make-A-Wish kid, pretty much. But yeah, John Cena gets his 17th world title, beats Ric Flair for the record. Be interesting to see how that continues because he can't commit with his schedule because he's too good for WWE, like The Rock is, apparently. That's my WrestleMania recap. Yeah, I don't know. Cody Rhodes deserved better than old John Cena, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see like if they're gonna let him retire with the championship in December or if they're gonna have him give it up.
So, just 2 questions for you here. Yep. 1, why does Cody Rhodes wrestle in a suit?
Oh, okay. So he doesn't actually wrestle in the suit. That's just kind of like his costume. When he's actually like in the ring, like actually wrestling, like sometimes he'll take bumps and stuff like that when he's in the suit. But usually if he's wrestling, he is, topless, tight pants. He's got the wrestling attire, but like sometimes he's in a suit. Just
this shows how much I know about WWE. Okay. 2, at the Whitecaps Miami game, say a Miami fan were to wander into the supporter section, what is the most effective WWE finisher move to make sure you send a message that Miami fans are not supposed to be in the Whitecaps section? And why is it a Stone Cold Stunner?
I was gonna say Stone Cold Stunner. Also to mention Stone Cold, he drove an ATV in to as an entrance to announce the attendance figures. Yeah, but also when he was doing circles around the ring, he hit one of the boards, one of the barriers, and a fan behind it fell. And he still got off the ATV, went in the ring, had got showered in beer, and then after went and checked on the fan. But then again, there was some delayed reaction for that. So I'm like, it was honestly just like, oh yeah, he crashed. Okay. I love Stone Cold. He's so great. Stone Cold Stunner. I feel like RKO is also a good one. I was gonna say the STFU hold, but I'm not sure exactly how to pull that off. Especially because the aisles are pretty tight at BC Place, so not as much room. But I just really like the RKO. But I think Stone Cold Stunner is probably the one to go with.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whitecaps fans, take note. Now let's begin. I think it's time we shout out a different podcast. King Charles. Kaja informed me of this recently, and King Charles has a podcast.
Yes, he does.
The male urge to podcast cannot be suppressed, and this applies to the King of England as well, apparently. So my main question is, what? What alternate reality have we slipped into?
I almost said something really
where
bad.
King Charles is doing a podcast about music.
There's that one clip of him. I don't remember what it's from. It's a pretty old clip, but he's like trying to relate to like teenagers, and he's like, dig that crazy rhythm. Like, that's what I'm just thinking of. But yeah, he has episodes where he talks about music he likes to listen to. One of the songs is from Beyonce. King Charles is not listening to Beyonce. That old man's lying. That's not real. That's not happening. Suspicious. He's not listening to Beyonce.
Suspicious indeed.
But yeah, like I don't think. Sorry, I like the male urge to podcast. That's great. I mean, truly, like, what is this achieved? Is this what the British taxpayers' money is going towards?
I guess.
If so, then I'm advocating for tax fraud, because this is ridiculous. That's a joke.
CRA, please don't come after us.
Yep. For legal reasons, that's a joke. But yeah, seriously, like, I get it. Podcasts are fun, but I don't really have an urge to listen to King Charles, of all people, talk really about anything. But like, again, he's not listening to Beyonce. Look at that man.
I think he talked about Kylie Minogue too, and I'm like, you don't listen to Kylie Minogue.
Unless he's still holding on to Diana's records, like, no. Sorry. Like, Kylie Minogue's for the gays. and I'm not continuing my sentence there. I've decided. There were words I had in my brain.
Don't make me edit more.
Sorry. My lawyer has advised me to not continue. But yeah, he has a podcast. I wonder what it's called, because I did not actually look that up. I just saw a bunch of Irish, I think it was Irish guys, talking on the internet.
I heard about this from you when you added it to the doc last week. Immediately asked questions, and then the next day saw a skit from 22 Minutes about it.
Oh! I didn't know they did anything about that. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'll send that to you later. Mark Critch is playing King Charles.
King Charles. Okay, I'm looking.
Please hold while we continue Googling things.
The King's Music Room. It's an Apple Music show. I cannot believe this is real. Okay.
Tell you what. We've said a lot about this show.
Uh-huh.
We haven't listened yet. King Charles, come on the Chroncast and explain what tempted you to do this show.
Okay, the first song on it is Could You Be Loved by Bob Marley. Sorry, Diana Ross. Barbara Streisand's on here. Michael Bublé is on here.
That one I can see.
Okay, but it's Haven't Met You Yet.
Okay, that's a little odd.
Yeah, I was bopping to that when I was 8. Like, okay.
I have thoughts on the Bob Marley being in there. I'm just not gonna get into any of them.
Yeah, that's fair. Sorry.
For those unaware, I am half Jewish.
Yeah. Sorry, Don't Rain on My Parade is on here twice. The Beyonce song is Crazy in Love featuring Jay-Z.
No,
yes,
not.
It is. Yes, it is.
No, it's
yes,
not.
It is. It's Crazy in Love featuring Jay-Z.
There's no chance. There's no chance he's listening to Beyonce in general. But if he is, it is not that.
Sorry, I think Crazy in Love would kill that old man. Like, just the beats alone. Yeah, it's The Locomotion by Kylie Minogue. And then Love Me Again by Ray is also one. There's so many, like, I don't know if it's supposed to be just, like, artists from the Commonwealth. If it is, then it already broke the rules because, like, Beyonce. But there's just a lot. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on here, and I don't understand any of it.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's move on from this. King Charles, you still have an invitation to come on the Chroncast if you'd like and explain yourself, but, you know. Okay, I have a lot of questions about this.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you start this one.
Okay, so in the Cars universe, there are different classes of cars. There are, like, cars that are made to service other cars. Like, Mater is a tow truck, or, like, vehicles. Like, the Pope Mobile in the Cars universe is made to be just that. Or, like, planes and stuff. They are made to just be that. Or, like, blimps. Which I saw this. I don't remember. It was at Beck on my Bulls on Instagram. Who did amazing recap of this. But there's, like, an elite class of cars, which is, like, the Queen Elizabeth cars. So I guess King Charles now. And then there's also, like, an entertainer class, which would be, like, Lightning McQueen and stuff like that, like the racers and, like, performers and stuff. Then there's also the, like, military service class, like Sarge, like all the military type stuff. And then there's, like, a working class of cars. So that's the majority of the people in the Cars universe. And then there's a service, like tow trucks, like Guido, like that. But yeah, so
Beat stop.
They they have, like, cars like the Pope Mobile, which apparently you're not supposed to call the Pope Mobile, but it's the Pope Mobile. And
I went on a tour of the Vatican last summer, and they did call them Pope Mobiles.
Okay. I just remember seeing, like, something on the Wikipedia page.
Oh yeah,
just like they don't.
You're not supposed to, but even the Vatican tour guides are calling them Pope Mobiles.
Cool. Hey, they let in somebody wearing a McDavid jersey. That's all I gotta say. These cars also, like, the way it's set up to be protected also insinuates that there have been assassination attempts, and also JFK International Airport is canonically named JFK, John F. Kennedy International Airport, in the Cars universe, which insinuates that there was a JFK assassination in the Cars universe. And not only that, there's only 2 blimps that are named in the Cars universe, right? And they had to, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the blimps had to go to special, like, blimp Zeppelin, like, broadcasting school in order to learn how to be a safe Zeppelin or blimp, even though that's what they were born to be, right? Which also indicates that there was a Cars version of the Hindenburg where a bunch of the elite class were killed, so that's why there's so many hoops that the blimps have to jump through in order to like do what they're born to be. And, like, is it weird? Do they get these modifications to, like, change into, like, an entertainer class or, like, an elite class? Or are they, like, just, there's also cars that are, like, born into this kind of thing that they don't have an option for? There's just, the class divide in the Cars universe is crazy. That's the bit. That's it. That's the bit. Any questions?
Why is Ryan Gosling in Star Wars?
Okay, this also makes me mad. We don't need him. Why is he there? I watch a lot of Star Wars. I love Star Wars so much. Why is he there? Like, are we just fulfilling everybody's childhood wish of being in Star Wars? Because if so, let me in, Chief. But it's cool. I like Ryan Gosling. I don't know. It'll be interesting because half the Star Wars projects they announced don't actually go through. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I don't know. I'm team. We should be focusing on more underground stars and hyping their voices up.
It's kind of the Star Wars way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did we forget that Harrison Ford was a carpenter? Like, there's so many things. Like,
Mark Hamill had pretty much only done commercials.
Pretty much. Like, you're supposed to elevate those who have not elevated yet. Whereas, like
beyond Sir Alec Guinness, no one was really that well known in the original movies,
mm-hmm.
and yeah,
like and like I understand you had some star power in the prequels and I guess some arguably in the sequels, but like still you had actors that didn't necessarily have as much mainstream kind of profile. Whereas like it just feels like it's going backwards a bit. Like I like Ryan Gosling. This is not anti Ryan Gosling, but like could you just stick to being Ken, man? We don't not to be like exclusive, like no one can enter a territory, but like please. Yeah. There was a lot going on at Star Wars Celebration this weekend. Everything was happening this weekend. I'm still not completely caught up of what's going on, but yeah, I don't know. I'm happy. I think we're getting a clone game, so excited, but that's just my thoughts.
With that, we have some sort of Canucks news that I have just become aware of, so we're just going to play, not necessarily news, but reports. Tweet from Rick Dollywall. Tom Willander's advisor, Todd Diamond, quote, "Our intent was/is to turn pro, but if we don't agree on a contract that Tom and his family are comfortable with, returning to BU and other situations become possible over the next few seasons." I don't want to read into things, but I'm going to read into things. Oh no. And second report from Farhan Lalji. This is more just confirming something that we already knew. Farhan Lalji reports Brock Besser is headed to free agency and that the Canucks have told him he's earned the right to be a free agent, but will keep the door open to a return. This is from Canucks at the Canucks Corner on Instagram. But yeah, so some not necessarily surprising, but not super ideal reports.
Yay! PWHL, save me!
Note,
PWHL, please save me!
On that lovely note, yeah, PWHL, Whitecaps, Rise, BC Lions, someone please come save us from this miserable franchise.
Grizzlies!
Right now, I am so glad that I'm a Liverpool fan because at least I have a couple teams that work.
That's fair.
Arne Schlott, you are my favorite bald coach on the planet. But on that note, we'll wrap up the show. Thank you to everyone for listening. You can find Canucks Chronicles, more of our content, at Nucks Chronicles on Instagram and on the Blue Sky page that I promise I will start updating one day. Kaja, where can people find you?
Kaja May, pretty much everywhere. Kaja with a J and with May with an E, because that makes sense.
Yeah, so thank you to Helmut Marko for listening, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.